Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoyed these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I'll really appreciate it and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you can see it and purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. Today we discuss the original and still the most vaunted of all Patek Philippe Nautilus models. This is the 3700/11AJ, stainless steel and yellow gold, part of the original family of Monobloc Gerald Genta patented designs. Later on, we'd get display case backs, three-part cases, all sorts of modern tech like ceramic and silicon, but the original is still the best from a purist standpoint. And this watch, in stainless steel and yellow gold, is a wonderful throwback that reminds us just how right Patek Philippe got it out of the gate. Everything that's still important about the Nautilus is present in this 1980s action hero, the likes of which would put Jean-Claude Van Damme, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Bruce Willis to shame. And that is the era we're speaking of with this watch. The timepiece, one of only a few hundred made in steel and yellow gold, somewhere between 300 and 500 in this style, is a lovely match for my wrist, and in fact just about any wrist sizes. It's incredibly slim. The monoblock case without the display case back takes almost a millimeter off the thickness of the watch. So this one's 7.5 millimeters thick, and lug to lug, it's only 44.5, so even a 13.5 to 14 centimeter circumference wrist can wear this watch. In terms of width, though, it has an impressive stance considering its breadth across the wrist. It's about 40 millimeters if you measure it diagonally from roughly 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock, but if you were to measure it across its wings, and I use that with a figurative parenthetical, it's about 42.2, so it's a broad watch, even though it's a slim watch. Now, backing off a little bit, you can see that the vintage bracelet is part of the charm of the watch. The design has not changed at all to the present day, although you can see once you open it up that the clasp internals reveal the veteran status of this piece. But what a lovely anachronism with the Nautilus script right in there. Even the clasp bears the name of the watch, and what a lovely font used. Now, the clasp itself is a lot like original 1970s Patek Nautilus clasp, and you can see this one garnished with gold. Not much changed from that original 1976 reference, with the exception of the bracelet links themselves. They're a little bit more dramatically tapered on the early to late 80s watches, and that's exactly what you see right here. The tolerance is absolutely incredible. Even today, you can see that these links line up so precisely that you can see the sweep, but you really can't feel the step down from link to link. All of the original metal and Geneva finish is present and correct. We've left this one unrefinished, so you're getting all of the original metal. And for that matter, all of the original evidence of the watch's enjoyment. You can see some marks on the bezel and the case on the bracelet, but for the most part, this is a remarkably original survivor. The polished bevel that runs the transitional surface from the satin tops to the sides is present, correct, and full. And you'll even note that on these older bracelets, you can see some of the evidence of the construction. If you've ever wondered how they get these bracelets together with no apparent external links, well, you can actually see on this veteran bracelet, I'm going to get as close as I can, you can actually see how Patek would insert bars and then finish over them, and you can just barely see the ghosted outline of the bars that go into the non-removable links, and that's how Patek actually assembled these things, and every single one has a very faint ghosted profile of the bars that actually hold the bracelet together. Now, jumping back to the case itself, it's monoblock, it's all one piece, which is to say, the case back is solid, the case back is joined to the mid case, they're all one piece, and everything goes in through the front of the watch. It's a front loader, so the movement and the dial go in through the front, and then these winglets clamp down on the flanks to render the watch 120 meters water resistant, which was insane for a dress-style watch during the 70s. Something ultra-thin with water resistance to rival a dive watch of the time. That was exceptional. And again, the watch is only 7.5 millimeters thick. You can also appreciate the interplay of tones. The black of the barely expressed bezel gasket, the yellow of the bezel, and the silver of the case, as well as the metallic blue and striation pattern of the dial itself. There's a panoply of textures and shades and colors, and each one of them has character, contributing to the whole, which is simply sublime. Speaking of which, the dial features a number of vintage elements, including the a priori marks. This was a symbol encouraged by a Swiss precious metals trade group starting in the late 1960s, early 1970s, and Patek would continue with these dials up through the late 90s. They were one of the last to drop this practice of putting this little a priori or sigma mark on the dial to indicate that the dial featured gold indices and hands. You also note they all feature a bit of a fade at their center that nicely matches the yellow gold, and that is original tritium. You can see that the dial is pretty much spotless. It's the original blue metallic, the striations are untouched, there's no evidence of bad watchmaking or unintentional contact between tool, dial, indices, or hands. It's a wonderful survivor. Underneath that case back, Patek Philippe caliber 28255C. It's basically a JLC 920. 40-hour power reserve. It is an ultra thin that with the date is a 3.05 millimeter thick movement. It actually features an annular winding system, so it rolls on 4 jewels and sits in the same plane as the bridges. That's how it gets so thin. 36 jewels adjusted in multiple positions. It features a semi-quickset date, so you roll that hour hand through midnight and the date advances. It's a quirky 19,800 vibration per hour beat rate. This is a wonderful throwback, but it reminds you just how right Genta and Patek got it out of the gate. At a glance, this could be a 5711. The only difference, this is an investment piece. The 5711, its time hasn't quite come. See the original and own it on the Watchbox.